x-ray me. I ordered 10 pounds of random books. So I was scrolling on Etsy and I was just perusing all the bookish stuff because, you know, it's fun and we love all the fun, exciting book stuff. Book stickers, bookmarks, books, sprayed edge books, all kinds of book memorabilia, like book merch, all of that on Etsy. We love it. So we continuously browse Etsy for cool book stuff. And I happened upon this company that was selling books by the pound, and I was intrigued. So I may or may not have ordered 10 pounds of random books. We have an extremely heavy box of books from an Etsy seller called Neverland Books, which I wanted to read their about section because I just thought it was so cool, and the whole objective behind what they do and why they sell books by the pound and why they sell them for relatively cheap, I really liked. So their about section says, "Hi all, Neverland Books is your one-stop shop for book bundles at the internet's lowest price." Who knows about that? "We focus on saving books from the landfill so that they can come home with you and change your life. Our inventory includes everything from kids' book bundles to classic novels to books by color to spice up your living room decor. Why thrift books yourself when you can get a fun surprise to your door? Pick your genre, pick your size, and we'll pick your books. This is a great way to add to your ever-growing library. Each book bundle will feature pre-loved books with different titles. Our team works hard to make sure no duplicates are in your bundle for your enjoyment. There are millions of incredible stories out there that you could never come across, and we do the work for you so that you can enjoy new adventures." First off, I will say, I absolutely love that their objective is to save books from a landfill. Overall, I think that is such a cool company objective, and it makes me super excited to make a purchase and support them and get a hold of some interesting books that I have no idea what's in here. And I figured if it's not a book that I'm interested in, I can either trade it out at one of the free libraries in my area or even donate it to my local library for other readers to enjoy. So with that being said, let's dive in to this massive 10-pound box of books. Well, okay. This massive 10-pound box of books. I'm getting a workout today also. I've ordered 2 5-pound lots of books. So for 5 pounds, it was $17. So I got 10 pounds. And then I paid $2.99 for these vintage pieces of book paper. So these were $2.99. Which gave me free shipping. So I would rather have gotten something fun and cool that I can do, either spice up my reading journal with, or I can make some cool decor out of these pages. So I thought that was money better spent on something like this versus paying for shipping. So the overall price was $36.99. And then with tax, I paid just under $40. I paid $39.21 for this giant box of books and these really beautiful pages. Let's dive in and see what we got. Looks like we have a couple hardbacks and then a couple paperbacks. They did say that they would kind of give a mix because they didn't want it to be only hardbacks and then you only get 3 books. So first we have The Apothecary by Mayleigh Melloway. There we go. It says on the front, "A dose of magic can save the world." And then on the back, it says it's 1952 and the Scotts have just moved from Los Angeles to London. There, 14-year-old Janie Scott meets a mysterious apothecary and his son, Benjamin, a boy who isn't afraid to stand up to authority and who dreams of becoming a spy. When Benjamin's father is kidnapped, he and Janie must uncover the secrets of the apothecary's ancient book, Pharmacopoeia? One of those. I'm not 100% sure. While keeping it out of the hands of their enemy. Discovering and testing potions they never believed could exist, Janie and Benjamin embark on a desperate and dangerous race against time. This actually seems like a very cute book. It seems like a little bit geared towards younger readers, but the actual premise of the story seems really interesting. And it's got some cool like black pages throughout the book, which is really cool. Some like fun like pages for starts of chapters. And overall, I'd say this is a decent like quality book. The spine is a little cracked, but overall like the edges are pretty great. The pages have no water damage and are perfectly readable. No like markings that I can see just flipping through the page. So first book, pretty exciting. Next, I kind of want to pull out this giant book. Oh my gosh, holy moly. This is A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. Let's see, is this part of the Game of Thrones series or is this not? Okay, so I looked it up and A Dance with Dragons is the 5th book in the Game of Thrones 7-book series, I believe, which I personally don't really have an interest in reading any of the Game of Thrones books. They just, I don't know, for some reason just have not interested me. But this is like, this is a freaking long book. This is like 959 pages. The synopsis says, in the aftermath of a colossal battle, someone's name that I cannot pronounce, rules with her 3 dragons as queen of a city built on dust and death, but Daenerys, I don't know, has thousands of enemies and may have set out to find her. Fleeing from Westeros with a price on his head, Tyrone Lannister, too, is making his way east, with new allies who may not be the ragtag band they seem. And in the frozen north, Jon Snow confronts creatures from beyond the wall of ice and stone. Interesting. Also, I probably butchered all of the names except for Jon Snow, but this will be one that I will probably be donating to the library or trading out for a different book at one of the little libraries, only because I just don't really have a desire to read Game of Thrones or to watch Game of Thrones. It just does not interest me in any sort of way. So I will be passing this along to someone who will find this book a lot more interesting than I will. Next, wow, we have a lot of books in here. We have The Forgotten Garden by, who are you by? Oh, by Kate Morton. Ooh, here we go. The synopsis for this one says, a tiny girl is abandoned on a ship headed for Australia in 1913. She arrives completely alone with nothing but a small suitcase containing a few clothes and a single book, a beautiful volume of fairy tales. She is taken in by the dockmaster and his wife and raised as their own. On her 21st birthday, they tell her the truth, and with her sense of self shattered and very little to go on, Nell sets out to trace her real identity. Her quest leads her to Blackhurst Manor on the Cornish coast of the secrets of the doomed Mounttracket family. Whoa. But it is not until her granddaughter... What? Okay. Hold on. But it is not until her granddaughter, Cassandra, takes up the search after Nell's death. Keep reading, Raimi. Just keep reading. Okay, that makes way more sense. Takes up search after Nell's death that all the pieces of the puzzle are assembled. A spellbinding tale of mystery and self-discovery, The Forgotten Garden will take hold of your imagination and never let go. Okay, that sounds very interesting. Not gonna lie, not as interesting as some other books, but who knows? 548 pages. This is a beefy book. This is a New York Times bestseller, which is awesome. So this seems a little bit more like a book that maybe my mom would love. She really likes to read fiction with kind of like a subplot of romance. And yeah, I have not really been on the fiction train recently, so I might ask if she's interested in reading this, and I might pass this along to her. Which I think that is such a cool part about this box, is that you get these books that you can share with other people, that you can read for yourself, and it's giving second life to these books, which is really, really exciting. So I'm really excited to get to share this with some other people. Next, we have The Nightingale by Kristen Hannah. Okay. The cover of this book is really pretty, and it's got some like foiled text for the author's name, which is really pretty. Despite their differences, Vianne and Isabelle have always been close. Younger, bolder Isabelle lives in Paris, while Vianne is content with life in the French countryside with her husband Antoine and their child. But when the Second World War breaks out and Antony, one of them, is conscripted to fight, Isabelle is sent to the country by her father to help Vianne. As war develops, the strength of the sisters' relationship is put to the test. With life changing and confronted by unbelievable horrors, Vianne and Isabelle find themselves responding in ways that they never thought possible, as bravery and resistance takes differing forms of each of the two sisters. Vivid and exquisite in its illumination of a time and place defined by atrocity, but also humanity and courage, Kristen Hannah's novel will provoke thought and discussion long after the reader turns the final page. Okay, I think that I've heard of this book. For some reason, after reading the synopsis and the name, it sounds really familiar. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I find it important to read about World War II. I have read quite a few books about World War II, and I find it extremely important to read stories about World War II, fictional or non-fictional, because I think that it's important to remember and reflect and give validity to the horrors that these people experienced. And yeah, I just think it's extremely important to continue the story and to continue to teach people how to be better human beings. So yeah, I'm really curious to read this book. This is a good book for this box. Next we have This Is Happiness by Nile Williams. Cute cover. The synopsis says, these are all fairly fat books. This one has probably been the worst quality. Like, you can kind of see the pages are really bowing right here. But still very readable. Okay. It says, the rain is stopping. Nobody in the small forgotten village of Faha remembers when it started. Rain on the western seaboard was a condition of living. Now, just as Father Coffrey proclaims the coming of electricity, it is stopping. 17-year-old Noel Crow is standing outside his... Noel? Okay. 17-year-old Noel Crow is standing outside his grandparents' house shortly after the rain has stopped when he encounters Christy for the first time. Though he can't explain it, Noel knows right then something has changed. This is the story of all that was to follow. Christy's long-lost love and why he had come to Faha, Noel's own experiences falling in and out of love, and the endlessly postponed arrival of electricity, a development that once complete would leave behind a world that had not changed for centuries. Not gonna lie, this book does not really seem very interesting to me, but it does seem like a good fiction book. And like I said previously, I'm just really not into reading fiction right now, but I am very excited to pass this along. Okay, next we have Little Night. This is a really, really, really pretty cover. Let us read the synopsis here. It says, whoa, okay. I tried to kill her husband. My lawyer will say I was defending my sister, but Frederick will convince Anne at least to pretend to see it his way. He will get her to deny my story and show the court my letters and emails, proof of my feelings about him. I will serve time in jail, no matter how good my lawyer might be. Anne will never visit or write me. Her kids will grow up and I will never know them. A man who fears and despises me will write my future. Right off the bat, so intense. Okay. Claire Burke's life took a devastating turn when she tried to protect her sister, Anne, from an abusive and controlling husband, and ended up serving prison time for assault. The verdict largely hinged on Anne's defense of her spouse, all lies, and the sisters have been estranged ever since. Nearly 20 years later, Claire is living a quiet life in Manhattan as an urban birder and nature blogger when her niece, Grit, turns up at her doorstep. The two long for a relationship with each other, but they'll have to dig deep into their family's difficult past in order to build one. Together, they face the wounds inflicted by Anne and her husband and find in their new connection a place of healing. says it's continued on the back flap. A riveting story about women and the primal tangled family ties that bind them together. Little Night marks a milestone for Luann Rice, the 13th novel from the author with a talent for creating stories that are exciting, emotional, and terrific. Okay, this actually seems like a very interesting book. Not necessarily one that I would probably typically pick out, but the synopsis actually sounds very interesting. And it kind of, not that it's the same by any means, but it kind of gives me In 5 Years vibes, like just the overall vibe of it kind of gives me that. Don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I'm getting from this book. And I loved In 5 Years. So this is our second to last book. We have The Seeress of Kell, which is the 5th book of Melloway. Melloway? Oh my gosh, my pronunciations have been literal trash today. Yeah, let's see what this book is about. The Final Reckoning. Time was running out for Garion and his companions for their quest to recover Garion's infant son and heir. If they could not locate the place which is no more, Zendramas, the child of dark, would use Garion's son in a rite that would rise the dark prophecy to eternal domination over the world and all of the universe. Only the Seeress of Kell could reveal the site of that mysterious place, and that she could do only once Garion and Polgara had fulfilled an ancient prophecy in the mountain fastness of the seers. Kell was closed to Zendramas, but her dark magics could enable her to force the knowledge of the location of the site of that final meeting from the mind of one of Garion's party. Determined to claim the world for the dark god, she laid her traps and dispatched her foul minions, but Garion would let nothing stand between him and his son. So this is the conclusion book to this series. I would be curious to go and seek out the first book and see if that synopsis sounds interesting, and then maybe go from there. And then last but not least, we have this really cool black book. It is 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights. A novel by Salman Rushdie. Cool cover. And this book is also in a very good condition. Okay, wow, this is a long synopsis. Buckle up, everybody. From Salman Rushdie, one of the greatest writers of our time, comes a spellbinding work of fiction that blends history, mythology, and a timeless love story. A lush, richly layered novel in which our world has been plunged into an age of unreason. 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights is a breathtaking achievement and an enduring testament to the power of storytelling. In the near future, after a storm strikes New York City, the strangenesses begin. A down-to-earth gardener finds that his feet no longer touch the ground. A graphic novelist awakens in his bedroom to a mysterious entity that resembles his own Stanley creation. Abandoned at the mayor's office, a baby identifies corruption with her mere presence, marking the guilty with blemishes and boils. A seductive gold digger is soon tapped to combat forces beyond imagining. Unbeknownst to them, they are all descended from the whimsical, capricious, wanton creatures known as the Jinn, who live in a world separated from ours by a veil. Centuries ago, Dunia, a princess of the Jinn, fell in love with a mortal man of reason. Together they produced an astonishing number of children, unaware of their fantastical powers, who spread across generations in the human world. Once the line between worlds is breached on a grand scale, Dunia's children and others will play a role in an epic war between light and dark spanning 1,001 nights, or 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights. It is a time of enormous upheaval in which beliefs are challenged, words act like poison, silence is a disguise, and a noise may contain a hidden curse. 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights is satirical and bawdy, full of cunning and folly, rivalries and betrayals, kismet and karma, rapture and redemption. This sounds like an incredibly interesting book. It kind of gives me like a mature Percy Jackson vibe, if that makes sense. Like children of other beings who are eventually having to fight battles of the worlds, the different worlds colliding kind of thing, but definitely more of a mature vibe. I have never heard of Salman Rushdie, but apparently he is a very astounding and famous author, which is very cool. So I'm excited to get exposed to a new author and a very interesting new book. So I divvied up the books into piles just because I was genuinely curious about like how many of the books I'm actually interested in reading, how many I'm not, just because I'm curious to see if this is really worth it, if it's not worth it, if I'm really getting anything out of it, and then what I'm going to be able to give to others or exchange for books that I'm more curious to read, etc., etc. So for the books that I'm interested in reading, we have 4 books. The 4 that I'm really curious about is 2 Years, 8 Months, and 28 Nights, Little Night, The Nightingale, lastly, The Apothecary. And then the books that I will not be reading and I will either be exchanging or donating to the library or giving to friends or family, I have 3 books. So we have The Dance with Dragons, which is the 5th book in the Game of Thrones series, The Forgotten Garden, which I think my mom will really like, so I'm gonna text her and ask her about this one if she wants to read it. This is Happiness. So 3 books I will not be reading, and then 1 kind of maybe in between that I will look into the first book of the series and see if it's something that intrigues me. I also should ask my dad too if he read this, because he has read so many like fantasy series. Like, it blows my mind how many books my dad has read in his life, and I bet you he has heard of this or has already read it. Those are all the books that I got. Those are 10 pounds of books, and I'm super excited to read through some of these books and to donate and share the others. And yeah, we saved some books from the landfill today, so that's pretty awesome. I will go ahead and link below the Etsy shop that I got the 10 pounds of books from, so if you wanted to go ahead and order some books by the pound, you can do so as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a ton of fun anticipating the delivery of the books and getting to read through the synopsis of the books with you guys and pick out the ones that seem really interesting to me. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will talk to you in my next one. Happy reading. Bye!